We are live in 5, 4, 3, 2, you know the rest. Let's do it. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Home Studio Q&A for another week here on Studio Live today. This is our show where we answer your questions about recording, the universe, and everything in between. It is episode number 69, and if you've got a question, we will try to answer it. And I say we because it's not just me, it is the whole team here, the whole crew here on YouTube and Facebook, because we've got folks here in the live chat. And to be honest, I answer maybe 20% of the questions. I think about 80% of the heavy lifting is done in the chat. So there is the form. If you're listening on the replay or watching on the replay or listening to the podcast, welcome aboard as well. You can always access that form at studiolivetoday.com/QA. So anytime during the week, if you've got a question, throw it in there. And then once a week, we jump in and we answer them all right here on the show. So welcome aboard. Why don't we just jump straight on in this week, because we've already got a bunch of questions here in the form. So let's get ourselves started here. Our first question comes from Dennis in Nottingham in the UK. Hope you're doing well over there, Dennis. And he says, "Hi, Pete. It is an electro-acoustic guitar line level. And what about a Strat with wireless system or an effects pedal? Mixed answers on the internet, so hoping you can help. Thanks," from Dennis. Yes. The answer to this one is a little bit random because, yes, it is. It can be, most of the time, it's going to be instrument level. So here's the deal. It really depends. There's different levels of power and different levels of amplification in different types of guitars, and there's different types of pickups known as passive pickups and active pickups. So some guitars that have active pickups will actually have a line level signal coming out of them. They're a little rare, and you'll probably know if you've got one. Your average guitar, so my Taylor sitting over there, my Martinez, they're both electric acoustic. They both have instrument level signals coming out of them. They do have pickups in them, but the pickups are not amplifying the sound to the level where I would treat them as a line level. They're definitely coming in as an instrument level, so they go into your TRS, your instrument level, your high Z, high impedance jack on your mixer, on your audio interface. The same with a lot of electric guitars. I'm looking over there, and I've got my Epiphone Les Paul and a Strat copy, and my bass guitar. They're all passive pickup systems as well, meaning they're all coming out at instrument level. Some guitars that have an active pickup will come out at a line level, and a lot of those will actually tell you, will say there, either when you buy them you'll know, or they'll actually say it's in the documentation. The thing is with some of your gear, so some of your guitar pedals and some of your guitar processors, they may have instrument pass-through, which means that they'll just have the single quarter-inch jack. That means you plug your guitar into them and then you plug out via quarter-inch, and all it's doing is processing the sound. Or they may have a stereo output. So do I have mine handy? I might be able to reach down and find it. For those watching on the replay, this is not going to really help you out, but I'm going to grab my effects processor, because I have this one. I have a Moore effects processor. I haven't used it for a really long time. I really should. It's a cool little unit. So this Moore effects processor, and on the back here, you'll notice that it has these two jacks here. Now, if I look at these, one of them is headphone output and one of them is input. So this is just using a standard TRS stereo out and your quarter-inch input. So these ones, with a headphone jack, I actually have to look this up, because I was about to say, I thought this had stereo out, which it does, but it doesn't have stereo TRS out. It's got a single headphone jack there, which makes me believe it's going to be a line level signal coming out via the headphones. So there you go. I honestly thought it was different here, because I haven't used this in quite a long time. And it has aux in. I forgot that this has a 3.5mm, an 1/8" aux in as well. But I'm going to have to go read the manual, and that's pretty much what you're going to have to do. Depending on the piece of gear you're using, you'll need to check it out and see if it lets you know. But it can be a bit of a slippery slope, so yeah, see how you go with that. And if you've got specific questions, a great place to ask those is over at the Create, Record, Release Facebook group. So if you're not a member of the Create, Record, Release Facebook group, it is the official group of Studio Live Today, so you can jump over there if you have questions. Hello to the folks we have here live, by the way. We have Joe, Cody, Mark, Scott, Michael, Gary, g'day Gaza. We've got Gino, Therese, and Bubba. Orchestra Eclipse, Michael, aka Zland Band, Gino, Therese, Tom, Rochelle, and a whole bunch of other folks, Guzzo of Oz. So thank you all for being here. If you do have questions, once again, if you're joining us here late, if you do have questions, all you need to do is fill them out at the question form, which is right there, studiolivetoday.com/QA. Just like our next person here has done, which is Clara. Now, Clara's question's too big to fit here in the chat, so we'll just read it out here. Hi, Pete. Thank you for your video. I'd like to record vocals and piano on my Scarlett 2i4. Could I use a TRS? Could I use a TRS, but one of them has two ends, not four as you've shown, and plug it into the aux out left and right on my piano, the other end into the Scarlett line, so that I have a free input for my mic on the Scarlett. Would that damage any equipment? Thanks. Now, I think we covered this in a recent Ask Me Anything, but I thought I'll go through this because I do get this question a lot. If you're trying to record two things at once, there's a few different options and ways that you can work around it. Let's go over to my gear guide at studiolivetoday.com/gear. Why is this not working? studiolivetoday.com/gear, and I will share my screen. I haven't actually shared my screen yet. So we'll bring up my screen here. So it depends on the gear you have. A lot of your two-channel audio interfaces. So the audio interface of choice for me is this one here, the Steinberg UR22C. And if you're using this interface or an interface like this where you've got two inputs, here's what you can do. You can record two microphones. You can record two instruments generally, so two guitars, and you can record a stereo line in. So anything that's got two inputs, a two-channel interface, which are the most common, you can record two channels at once. Now, if you're recording a piano, so if you're recording a synthesizer, if you're recording a guitar processor, something that has stereo output, you need to have a stereo TRS cable, which has two connectors at each end, meaning that you're going to use your entire interface just to record stereo. Now, the other option you have is to record mono. So if you sent mono out and put it just into the right jack there, and then put your microphone into the left, then yeah, you could play your piano in mono and record that on channel 2. You could have your microphone on channel 1 and record that. So you could set up and do multi-channel recording in whatever DAW that you happen to be using. Now, if you have something that has more channels, so if we go to the UR44C, and look, the same thing with Focusrite. I use Steinberg because that's who I use. If we go to the UR44C, what you'll notice is we've got two sets of inputs. So you could actually have two stereo line inputs here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You could have a microphone, a guitar, and then a stereo input. And even better than that, this actually has 6 inputs, because if we come around to the back of the unit, we've got another line input here for 5 and 6, which is just line input, just quarter-inch line in. So this is why the UR44 is pretty cool, because what you can actually do is connect up stereo input there. Say you had your keyboard, you plug that into 5 and 6, and then you've still got 4 preamps right here on the front. You can have 4 microphones, or you can have 2 microphones and 2 guitars, or you can have a stereo line in and another stereo line in and a couple of microphones. So there's a heap of options that you have with there. Now, you're asking about the Focusrite Scarlett, and I think you said, was it the 2i4? I think we worked out last time. Is there a 2i4? I think maybe there is. Let's find out. So there's a 4i4. So the 4i4 is very similar, except it just has the 2 preamps on the front, and then around back, it's got, again, those 2 line inputs. So you've got the same as the UR44C, except you've got the 2 preamps on the front and then the 2 stereo TRS inputs on the back. The reason I prefer the Steinberg is that the Focusrite here, it's only powered by USB, and all the Focusrite interfaces are the same, meaning if you want to use them on an iPhone or an iPad, you need to get yourself a Lightning to USB 3 adapter and a powered USB hub, so that can be a little bit challenging. But hopefully that helped explain the sort of things you can do and how you can connect your gear to your other gear and get it recorded in the home studio. Let's move on to our next question, and this one comes in from Andy. Andy's question is shorter, so we will pop it right here in the chat so that you can actually see it as well as hear it. He says, when starting a new project, is it better to set up several sections at the beginning or add sections on the fly as you need them? Very good question, Andy. We may need to dive in. If we're talking GarageBand here, then we'll dive over here to GarageBand and check it out. Oh, I've got to set my mouse up. I was doing some videos about. I did a short video about using a mouse I'll just use my Magic Keyboard mouse. Using a mouse on the iPad, and I recalibrated my mouse to use it on the iPhone and didn't change it back. So bad form there. Let's go to iCloud Drive. Let's go to GarageBand for iOS, and let's just create a new idea. So the question that Andy's asking here is, if we were setting up a new track, so let's just say we wanted to record something and we're like, oh, I've got an idea for a bit of a song, and I'm going to bring in my keyboard here. That's way too loud. Hang on. That's still too loud. We'll come in here. We'll change it from that thing. We'll just go back to our regular keyboard sound and bring in something like the... Oh, there's too many keys now. So classical grand here. So let's just say that we were saying, oh, I want an idea here, and want to put 8 bars in here to start with. In fact, we'll cheat. We'll just use autoplay. So we'll grab our autoplay here, and we'll do something a bit interesting. We'll hit this, and we'll do a... All right, so we start recording that in. So what Andy's saying is, all right, is it better to come in here and go to your sections here and go, right, now I know I've got 8 bars there. What I then want is I want 16 bar, that's my intro. I then want 16 bars for my first verse, so I'm going to add that in there. I then want another 16 bars for my chorus, so I'm going to add that in there. And so on and so forth, and build out all your song sections so that you've got everything there and you can use it. Or do you put everything in and then go back afterwards and chop it into sections? You're probably going to predict my answer here, whatever works for you. So it really depends on a couple of things. If you're the sort of person that's already written the song, so you've already written it out, like what I tend to do is I use my OneNote, and when I'm writing out a song, I'll tend to, in the songwriting process, actually already be doing this sort of process, working out how many sections there are, what goes in each section. I'm just trying to find a one here. So here's an example from We Will Rise Together. And now this is one that Emil did that I recorded. But yeah, you can see here, I already knew the sections of the song because I knew how many bars were in each section here. And I could set up my project accordingly. Whereas something like Murdering Time, I didn't really know that. I was arranging as I went. So I had the lyrics and I knew the chords, but I didn't actually know that. So there's an example of one time where I'd actually use the sections and set them all out there. And another time where I thought, no, I'm just going to go free form and just do what I want to do. Now, there are ways around it, by the way. If you're wondering here and going, oh, what if I don't do sections, how do I get them in there afterwards? Well, I've actually got a video that shows you how to add in sections after the fact. So if you hit that point, and we'll go no sections, add them. I think that's what we need to search for. No, we have to type my name in there. Pete Johns, no sections, add them. There it is. So there's a video where I show you how to add sections after recording in GarageBand iOS. So if you've got something in one big chunk, like I showed you before, and you want to separate that out, you can actually do that by adding in the sections after you've actually done that in GarageBand iOS. So hopefully that helps you out and gives you some ideas. But like most things in music, there really is no right way and wrong way. There's just the way that works for you. Don't get too hung up and caught up on what does and doesn't work for you. For others, just use whatever's going to work for you. And if anyone in the chat here has any ideas or anything that they wanted to add to any of the answers here, I'm all ears. I've said at the start of the show, this show works really well because it's not just me answering, it is you as well. So if you here in the chat, watching on Facebook or on YouTube, if you've got ideas about how you run, in fact, let us know. Either here or in the comments if you're watching on the replay, let us know. Do you plan out your sections? Do you know how many bars are in your choruses, your verses, your intros beforehand? Or is it free form? Do you arrange on the fly as you go? Or do you have your song written up front? Maybe let us know. It'd be interesting to know what the folks in the community here actually do. Let's move on. Ethan, Riding with Ethan Dev says, have you collaborated with another singer? And what is your favorite singer and song? What an interesting question. I don't usually get to answer cool questions like this. So we'll throw this. Whoop, hang on. I will pop this as a banner here so that as we are chatting, that we can talk about it and you'll be able to see it as well as hear it. So have I ever collaborated with another singer? Yeah, I have. To be honest, it's weird because I haven't really collaborated on a lot of projects where I'm singing and other people are singing as well. One I did with Jade Starr. In fact, we did a cover of a Ben Folds song called Smoke, which is available. You can search for that, Jade Starr, featuring me, called Smoke, a Ben Folds song, and that's on Spotify and Apple Music and iTunes and all the places if you want to check it out. And I recently did some vocals for an artist called Emil, who's releasing that song I just showed you, We Will Rise Together. So collaboration is great, it is fun, and it helps you learn. Like, you learn so much from collaborating, and I always say that the power of having multiple people together recording, it's so much more than what you get. I've told this story a bunch of times, but I'll just relate it really quickly. I'm quite bad, not bad, but I'm average at programming drums and recording drums for my music. So when I was struggling with some drums, I was using Auto Drummer. My friend Jade Starr, who I just mentioned, said, "Hey Pete, I've got an idea for some drums for that." She created some drums, sent them to me. The first time I listened to them, I'm like, this is not what I was thinking at all. This does not fit this song, not at least what was in my head. But the good thing was I listened to it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and then I'm like, yeah, this isn't what I would do, and that's a good thing. I think sometimes we get stuck in what we envisaged for the song, and look, that's important to a certain extent. But I think the beauty of collaboration is that sometimes ideas come in that were not your idea. You wouldn't have done it that way. Because at the end of the day, there's no point collaborating if the person you're collaborating with, you just tell them what to do and they do exactly what you say. That's just paying someone to play on a song, right? That's hiring a musician. That's different. Collaboration should be about taking on board what other people have to say and integrating that into your song. In terms of my favorite singer and song, there are far too many. One of my favourite singers is Eddie Vedder, hence why today I'm doing a happy hour of just Pearl Jam songs. Love Eddie's voice, love the passion he sings with. I've always wanted to emulate that passion, the vibrato, just the feel that he gets out of his music. So he's one. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, Michael Stipe, very different voice, very different dude. But so I like unique voices is what I'm saying. I don't like generic voices where people are trying to sound like other people. I like people who sound like themselves and who sing their own songs. So favourite singers, favourite song, too many to name. I also like a lot of Ben Folds. I like the Whitlams. I like Tim Minchin. There's a lot of people. It's funny, in fact, I was talking to my wife yesterday. I was practicing a few Pearl Jam songs, and then I threw some music videos on, threw some Foo Fighters, and it was like, I got another confession to make. And she says to me, I'm liking less and less the music where they just scream into a microphone for 5 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, I guess there is something about that as you get older. It's more of the melodic stuff, more the harmonies, more the subtleties. And as much as I still like to rock, and I like rock music, yeah, I do like a lot more sort of laid back, chilled kind of sounds where you can really hear the intricacies of the music. So hopefully that helped out. Let's just see what folks have got to say about the section. EmoBot9000 says, I feel like everything I do when writing music is by accident. Let's see. Danny says, I've received my MIDI Masters, Bluetooth MIDI, best bit of hardware I've purchased in years, and now I can play my MIDI keyboard on iPad via Bluetooth. Only 3 milliseconds latency. I need to explore that. Send me an email, Danny, with your experience and some recommendations, because, yeah, I heard you talk about that the other day, and it sounds interesting. Bluetooth MIDI. Joe, section, free range. Wouldn't know where to start. There you go. Just go with it. Start recording and see what happens. So glad you're a Ben Folds fan too. Absolutely. Is your mic a condenser, and is it plugged straight into the computer, or is it running through a desk? So yeah, this is a condenser microphone. It's I know it looks a bit strange. Looks more like a dynamic microphone, but it's actually a handheld condenser. It's the Audio-Technica AT3300. It is an expensive mic. I only have it because I picked it up secondhand for about $150. It's actually about a $450 mic. It's the most expensive microphone that I have ever and probably will ever own. And I'm going through a mixing desk through the Samson MixPad mixing desk with just a little bit of compression on there, and that's about it. But yeah, this microphone sounds really good. Hopefully it's coming through at your end, even with the YouTube compression. Jade has thrown the link to Smoke. There you go. Smoke by Jade Starr featuring me, and you can use the Song Whip link there to jump on over and find it. I'll just see if anyone else has got any comments about that. Yeah, there you go. Scott, O'Neill and Jones say Scott Ool has some good tutorials on the WIDI. Is it WIDI? It's actually WIDI, not the MIDI. So it's a Bluetooth MIDI called WIDI. Just trying to make me say witty a lot, aren't you? Alrighty, let's move on. We got more questions here in the form, and I always go too slow at the start and then have to rush at the end. So while we still have 40 minutes, how about we keep kicking on and keep pushing through? Next question comes from Ethan again. Do you like dark trap music or lo-fi music or both? Are they the only options? Dark trap music, lo-fi, or both? I must admit, I didn't get into trap music. I know trap music was super popular, especially probably 1 to 2 years ago. I didn't really get into it. It wasn't kind of my scene for reasons that we said before. I like more melodic, more harmonies, more subtleties, and it was like trap music and dark trap beats are not actually that subtle. Lo-fi, however, I really dig. I've been listening to a lot more lo-fi stuff and a lot more kind of chilled beats, and I really like it. There's a few things I don't like about lo-fi. I think the little movie quotes that everyone's putting in their lo-fi songs at the moment is a little bit overdone. I don't think we need it anymore. Plus, it creates all sorts of copyright issues. So I think if you're making lo-fi, keep that in mind. If you want to start actually sharing it and monetizing it, you can get yourself in some significant trouble if you're using popular, well-known. If you're going to use stuff, use obscure quotes, yeah? Don't use popular. Don't use something from like Scarface or The Godfather, or you're definitely going to land yourself in trouble. And the other thing is, I get distracted by some of the effects that are put onto there, especially effects. See, because I'm not an electronic producer, I can't even think of the name. But some of the filter effects where it's and some of the stereo panning and some of the flanging just doesn't sound really good. And I'm also not a fan of sidechain. So that pumping, that deliberate sidechain pumping that you hear in a lot of beats and a lot of lo-fi, I don't like that either. I like a bit more of a straightforward kind of sound. I tend to use lo-fi music as sort of a relaxing thing when I'm doing other things on the computer. I'm paying bills, I'm answering emails. So if I have distracting things going on in the music, I'm not a fan. So yeah, love lo-fi, but like it more, just more subtle, more like almost like chilled relaxation stuff. Anyway, thank you for the question, and thanks for your contribution. We'll jump into the chat real quick. Hey, Pete, what do you think about MacBook Pro 13 for producing vocals? I think the new Mac M1s are really good. So I've got the Mac Mini. That's what I'm using right now to stream this show. And the new MacBook Air and the new MacBook Pro, the M1 models are really good. The system on a chip means that even with 8 gigabytes of RAM and even with integrated video, they just absolutely fly along. And I've spoken to a lot of people that have used GarageBand, that have used Logic, a whole bunch of platforms, and it is just working really well for them. So I think if you wanted one device that's going to be portable, that's going to be your studio, that's going to be your home PC as well, yeah, I would get a MacBook Pro or even a MacBook Air. And this is coming from a 25-year, 30-year veteran PC guy, yeah? I've been using PC since I was like 12 years old. I'm 42, so yeah, it's 30 years. Yet it's definitely like moving to the Mac. It's the right time to move to a Mac. If you're a PC person, it is the right time. It wasn't before. It was too different. The learning curve was too steep. Now, Mac is so much, especially if you're an iPhone or an iPad user, Mac is so much like iOS, Mac OS is, that the learning curve is super, super shallow compared to before, where you had to learn a whole new way of doing things. That would be my take on that anyway. Mental Lentil. I love some of the names. I have an album in my head and I've been trying to use with Ableton Light or GarageBand. Thank you for these videos. Well, no, thank you. Thank you for being here and thank you for your support and for having a super cool name. I see you're wearing your older version of the Sennheiser headphones. How is the new set? The new set is good. Yeah, I know. And in fact, I still haven't replaced this and this. The new set is good. Here's the thing. The cups are not kind of worn in. It's like a new pair of shoes. The reason I keep switching back to these is that the cable is nice and stretchy so I can get further away from my desk. This one's cable is still super tight. So I need to do some cable stretching or, use a cable extension, which I do have. And the other thing is that the cups have not quite softened. Like I need to wear them more. I'm using these for mixing and mastering when I'm doing stuff in the studio, when I don't have to worry about the distance I can get away from it and I don't keep getting my head pulled. But yeah, they are just as good, but it's like anything. They take a little bit of a while to get used to. They're not quite as comfortable. These are like sticking on my old pair of boots. And yeah, I like that. I like comfort. All right. James Kimball said it's the M1 next year when they get the bugs out. Yeah, you know what? The bugs are mostly out. When I first bought it, because I was an early adopter, which I never recommend doing, then yeah, I The first 3 months were a challenge. When I say that the learning curve is less steep, I did have problems with the video display. I had problems with my webcam. I've still got problems with my Zoom live track, but that's more on Zoom, not updating their drivers. So yeah, there are some challenges. So if you want absolutely everything to work, yeah, I would wait. I would wait another 6 months until the next generation, and then they'll have everything golden, I would say. Let's continue on back to the form because we've got some more questions coming in here from Guy. Guy says, been following your voice recording videos lately in hopes that I might find the answer to a problem I have. I sing like a cat whose tail has been stepped on. Is there an auto-tune plugin for GarageBand that would make me sound more in tune? There is an auto-tune plugin for GarageBand, and it is called the Pitch Control. Now, instead of giving you a big demo here, I've actually done the hard work for you. So if you type in my name and auto-tune into Mr. YouTube, you will get this video. So I've done a few auto-tune videos in the past, but the criticism a lot of people have of auto-tune is it sounds like auto-tune. So there's two ways to tune things, right? There's tuning that is an effect. There's the Cher, T-Pain, do you believe in love? There's that. But then there's also tuning to make sure that if you are just hit a bit of a bung note or you've just got a sound that's not quite hitting the mark, it's slightly flat, slightly sharp, there's tuning to make sure that people listening don't sound like a cat with its tail stepped on. So I would take a look at this video because what I show in this one, and again, just search Pete Johns Auto-Tune in YouTube, what I show in this one is how to use auto-tune just on particular phrases. So the beautiful part about GarageBand, the way I use it, is you take your vocal, you duplicate out a track, and then listen through, and only sections where you hear that grating. You're not going to miss every note. If you're missing every note, you might need to practice a bit more before you record. But the notes that you are missing, then chop out that section, put it onto your second track, and add your tuning just to that second track. That way you're leaving the majority of your vocal unaffected, and then the bits that really need the attention, you can do it. And you can even do 3 sets. You can do no tuning, some tuning, more extreme tuning. So if you're really missing things, they can be in a third track, which has sort of more extreme tuning. If you're slightly missing, they can be in a second track. Now, I know that there are other auto-tune plugins and auto-tune in other DAWs that work a lot simpler. So GarageBand, you do have to kind of work around it and do a bit of a hack, but it's actually not that hard. Once you get the hang of it, actually not that hard. I would recommend at least giving it a go. So hopefully that helps you out. Silk just has a quick question in here. Do you know if any headphones with a perfect flat frequency response exists? Not really, not perfectly flat. Everything will add a little bit and your room will add a little bit even though you're wearing headphones. The Sennheisers are some of the best that I've found, yet some people love their Sonys, some people love their Audio-Technicas, some people love their AKGs. So it really depends on your personal preference. But the Sennheiser HD280 Pros for $100 are about the flattest cheap headphones. And I know $100 isn't cheap, I know, but cheap adjacent, like not $500, not Sennheiser 600s or 650s that are going to cost you $500-600. If you got that money, sure, go spend it. But yeah, if you got $100 burning a hole in your pocket, the Sennys, the 280 Pros are definitely good. Joe Dell, do you ever use producer effects stereo spread on vocals? I don't, mostly because I have tried it before. I tend to use the Wider plugin from Infected Mushroom. If I want stereo spread on vocals or guitars or any other instrument, the Wider plug, it's a free plugin, Wider from Infected Mushroom, is amazing. If you search my name, if you want to see it in action, search Pete Johns and Wider. And there, I've got two different videos there. I've got the 10-minute version and the 5-minute version, depending how much time you got. But yeah, the Widener plugin called Wider from Infected Mushroom is my go-to. I'll answer one more from the chat here and then we'll jump back to the form. If you do have questions, chuck them in the form and they'll definitely get answered. Which MIDI controller would you recommend? I'm not a keyboard player. I use the M Audio Keystation series, so they're the ones that I actually recommend. If we come over to my gear guide here, I like the Keystation, the M Audio Keystation 49. Where are we? MIDI keyboard. There it is. M Audio Keystation 49. And this, of course, is at studiolivetoday.com/gear. Now, you can often get it for about $99. It's $119 at the moment. But there, you can see there, it's 49 keys. You got your pitch bend wheel. You got your volume there. You've got your octave control there. It's just a simple, easy to use keyboard with nice full-size keys. You can see 19 reviews, 5 stars across the board. Everyone loves this thing. And if you're not a keyboard player, you just want to dip your toes and you're like, I don't want to spend 120 bucks, Pete, check out its little cousin here, the KeyStation 32. Because if you're just getting started and you've got a little bit to spend, so there you go, $59, 60 bucks for this little sucker. This is a great entry level. If you're not sure if you want to use a MIDI keyboard, you don't have a lot of space, you're not a keyboard player, this is cool. This will let you know whether you want it. Because if you don't play keyboard, you can still use it for like playing in arpeggios, just playing in basic melodies. For bass, it's really good. For playing drums, it's really good. If you're programming in drums using a MIDI keyboard, you can actually... So yeah, they're the options that I tend to go with. Akai make good stuff. Arturia make good stuff. You really can't go wrong. Basically, it's the same with microphones. Don't buy those $20 and $30 ones that are on eBay and Amazon because you're not going to get quality. But anything you buy from somewhere like Sweetwater that's a brand name, then it's going to be good. And you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars like you saw there. Spend 60 bucks and grab that little M Audio one. I think you'll do well. Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to be a keyboard player to play the keys. Just pretend they're buttons. Exactly. You're just programming things, right? You're just programming sounds. You don't have to play keyboards. Just do it. All right. And Russ has got on the headphones. I use the 280s as well, but the Sony ones are the flat ones of the bunch. Yeah, they'll all have their frequency response on there, and yeah, some people do swear by the Sonys for being super flat. Let's grab our next question here. It is coming in from Cliff Hall. Says, when I record acoustic stuff and get the music for a verse or chorus, I just write. I try to duplicate it to use it again on a song when I need verse or chorus music. I seem to have trouble making the transition to the copy sound smooth and natural, even when right on the beat. I sometimes get a small hitch in Get Along. Is there a video which addresses smoothing or how to elongate the sound at the end of a segment? Yeah, we talked about this actually on the last Ask Me Anything, so I probably won't go into super duper detail here, but just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here, it's generally a crossfade that you're looking to do here. I'm going to see if I can find a project where I can actually show you a little demo of this. I'll just find something where I've recorded some vocals. Where are we? I'll bring this up here so you can at least watch me fiddle around while I'm doing this. We'll come in here, we'll go and find something like this one. We'll go to my completed songs. Here, we'll go with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, because this one has me doing some fun vocals in here. So, if we take a look at this, now this is a bad example actually. We're going with it anyway. So what you tend to find is when you've got two different sections and you're trying to blend between them, like let's just say that this was two sections here and there was a pop in between them. What you would tend to do, and this is probably what you're saying, is when you're duplicating out your second one and you're putting this here, and I showed this, actually I did show this in a previous video, but we'll do it really quick here. The thing that you want to do is either do some sort of crossover between the two. So you want to have some sort of thing like that so that it's actually going between them, but we'll just undo that. But the key thing to do is to use automation. So we showed this again recently, is that what you would actually do is go to your automation, your volume automation here, and you would add some automation points by sliding in the top there. You would go boom and boom. You would drop down the volume of your first track, and then if you've got your second track that you're blending in, whoops, you would do the opposite. You would make sure you press the button in the right spot. You would start with the volume lower and blend it up. So you'd actually, and then you'd cross those over so that it goes from one to the other. This isn't really going to work because it's the same audio track, but let's just hit play on this and find out. Little star, how I wonder what you are. Do you see that? As one was going down, the other was coming up. And that can avoid that pop, that click, that glitch that you get between a couple. So other DAWs have it built in. You can do it all on one track. GarageBand does make it a little bit more difficult, but if you grab your two things, put them on two different tracks and automate between them. Now, because I've had this question asked a few times recently, what do I need to do? Well, I need to add it to my, so I'm just undoing all that so I don't confuse myself next time I go into that project. I'm going to actually add it into my list here. So basically, if you don't know, people are like, where do you get your ideas for your videos? You tell me. You tell me what you want to know, and then I make a video about it. So this is going into my video list here. So we'll throw this into my OneNote, and we're going to go crossfading to avoid glitches. See, you're helping me do my job at the same time. Except I can't type because I wrote avoid glitches. All right. Very cool. That is in there. Right. We're past the halfway mark, but we've got some more questions here. But if you do have questions, make sure you throw them in the chat. No, let's try that again. If you've got questions, don't throw them in the chat. It would help me out if you would put them in the form, which is at studiolivetoday.com/QA. That will guarantee your question will get answered, unless we get 10 questions in the next 3 minutes. And then we probably won't get to all of them, but they will get answered eventually. Let's go to our next one. It is from Cody Bradley. Should I make my drums louder than the rest of the instruments or quieter? What a good question. Should I make my drums louder or quieter than the rest of the instruments? Well, it depends. I know, the old it depends. But here's the thing with drums. You want them to be at the right level for your song. So you don't want them to be too loud. You don't want them to be too soft. Let's jump into, say, my song here. Hold on. We'll do the right thing and make a duplicate copy of it so we can mess about. So if we jump into this one, hit it there. The drums in this one are, where are they? There they are. So we've separated out the drums a little bit. So let's just take a listen and see what we think of what these drums are doing right now.
There are times when you might give in, thinking there's just a way to win, looking sideways at other.
So there's our kick and snare. There's our crash. Here's our hi-hat and our ride cymbal. If we bring them back into the mix.
Because you won't get it done by living in fear. Hold on.
So on this particular song, you'd probably say, and I can't even remember if this was the final mix we did with this one, but they might even be a little bit too quiet here. The thing with your drums is it's not generally all about the volume. And in fact, ever since I mixed this song, I've got some really good tips from Gary Hubbs, who's right here in the chat, around how to get a little bit more crack and cut through from your drum sound. So there's a few things. So yes, your drum volume is important. So where you turn your drums up and try to match that so that they're sitting in the mix. They're not overpowering the mix, but they're not buried by the mix. But it's not just your volume slider that you can use here. There's also compression. So you can see here I have a compressor on these drums. So if we bring this one in here, we've got this compressor on. If we just play the drums,
You're in a rush and
we turn that compressor off. Hear how it just gets buried again? Turn it back on. You're getting much more thump with that kick drum and you're getting a lot more power there. We've also got some EQ on here. So I've rolled off a lot of that top end on the EQ and even a little bit of the bottom end here. So I have done some moves there to actually give that a little bit more sort of just shaping in there. The other thing that I didn't use on this one that our friend Gary uses a lot is distortion. So you can actually add just a little bit of distortion if you've got your kick drum. Whoops, wrong one. You've got your kick drum and your snare drum in particular. So if we add this distortion, if we add the default amount, it's going to sound horrendous. It'll sound like this. But if you turn that drive down, set the tone level, hear how it's just giving it a bit more cut through. Turn the distortion off. Turn it back on. Bring it back in the mix.
hold on, cause it's gonna be a long, long time. Hey!
So for your rock song, I don't know what delay I was using on there. Hey, it's like a weird one. Anyway, yeah, so that's some options that you have there for your drums. So remember, it's not just about volume. All those things are volume. So compression and EQ are just volume knobs. Compressor is a volume knob that basically just pushes down your high stuff and brings the rest of the mix up. And your EQ is just a volume control for different frequencies. So you've got some options in there if you want to do that. But it comes down to personal preference and it comes down to what the song needs. Sometimes a song will need drums that are a lot more powerful and really kick through. Sometimes they just need to sort of sit back and do their thing. Depends on that. All right, let's continue on. Next question is from Joe and Barry. Says, I should know, but how do I transfer a song from AudioShare to the CRR forum? Point me to one of your tutorials. Yeah, so the Create, Record, Release, if you're talking about the Create, Record, Release Facebook group, so anything, the main way that folks do that, to be honest, Joe, is to use SoundCloud, or I've actually used slaps.com a lot more these days. So some sort of online audio hosting. The thing is, Facebook and audio don't play nice. So Facebook needs some sort of video, or it needs a link to somewhere where the video can be played. If you link to, you can do it, but it gets clunky if you link to, say, a Google Drive that has it. So that's another option that you could use. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could just have your song on Google Drive, make it a shared link, and then get people to download it. I'm going to be really honest. I don't do that because it's just a hassle, like having to download a file and then go to your player and play it, and then you've got it in your downloads, and then it's taking up space. I don't tend to do it. So the reason that I recommend folks use SoundCloud or slaps.com is that then you can just share it straight away. So for instance, what we'll do, I'll jump over to SoundCloud here and just show you what I'm talking about. So here is my SoundCloud. So you can see I've used 96% of my free uploads I've used, but SoundCloud is still free. You do get up to, 180 minutes to upload. So I've uploaded a bunch of stuff. So all you need to do is come in here to the upload button, drag and drop your file. So if it's an audio share, you can drag and drop it here. If you're using iOS, you can just use either the SoundCloud app, or I would recommend just going to Google Chrome or Safari in desktop mode and then doing that. In fact, why don't I show you that now? Because you asked the question specifically for audio share. So let's pretend this is what I'm doing here on my iPad. So we'll go to audio share, and where's something that I've got? Let's just say that I wanted to share this song, Murdering Time, and maybe I do. So I've got this song here. I want to share it with folks on the Create, Record, Release group. What I need to do is firstly get it onto SoundCloud. Now, I haven't done this in a really long time, so let's go to SoundCloud. Can't even remember if you can upload directly from the SoundCloud mobile. Oh, so I'm going to have to log in, aren't I? Do I remember my SoundCloud login? This is a good question. This could be a challenge. Sign in, email. Let's just give it a crack, shall we, and see if I'm using some of my usual passwords here. See, it shows you how often I've used SoundCloud. I haven't actually logged into it. Oh, it let me in. Save the password. Yes, please. Save the password for future use. There we go. So we've got all my SoundCloud going on here, and we're ready to go. So no thanks. I don't need SoundCloud Go Plus. Let's go to my library. So down the bottom here, we're going to click library there. See, this is where I don't know how to use the SoundCloud app. It's never been good. I've never liked it. So let's go to my profile here. How do we get to the bit where we can actually upload songs? Oi. See, this is why I like Slaps. Slaps.com's better than this. All right. Let's abort. Let's abandon, because this is probably why last time I did this, I went in through desktop mode here in Safari. So we're going to do that instead. I'm just going to pop ourselves over here to Safari real quick. We're going to go to soundcloud.com. Don't you love it when you're like, oh, Joe, it's as easy as doing... Oh, wait, now I'm not able to do it. So I'm just going to sign in here on my web browser, just using the same stuff. I wonder if it'll cross over here because it's now on my device. It might remember my password that I just entered. Or, oh no, it does. Just log in using that one. I love you. It's just got to look at my face. I love you, Apple. You help us out. All right, here's where I'm a bit more comfortable. So now we're on here, and this is the same setup that we had before, and we actually have an upload button. Hooray. So let's just say we wanted to upload something. All we need to do is come here. Yeah, I've used up a whole bunch of stuff. We can drag and drop or choose files. So because we're here on iOS, we're going to tap choose files. We're going to go to browse. And then, as you'll probably be aware, you've got an audio share file section here. So this will just emulate everything you got there. Let's just throw something up here. I was going to use Murdering Time, but I've already uploaded that. I don't know. These are all instrumental versions of my songs. I don't think I'd do that. You know what? It doesn't matter. Murdering Time, final mix. We'll just throw this one up there. So, and that's all you do. So you add it there. Okay, got it. Go away. Add a caption to your post. So then you just change the title. You can upload an image if you want to. So if we wanted to put something from my photo library, I can do that. And then once it's uploaded, I hit save. In fact, let's do this. I'm going to totally confuse people because I'm actually going to upload this and then have it there. Murdering Time, final mix. Because I've already got it up there. So there you go, processing my track for playback. If you want to, you can add tags and description and everything like that. I'm just going to put demo of uploading to SoundCloud. And this is a good way. Obviously, the other thing as we're going through this, the other thing you can do is use YouTube. So create a video, and I know you and Barry create videos for your songs. You can do that and then post them to YouTube and then share that link, which I know you do for your final product. But this is a good way. And then again, you can make it private or public. I would just make it public if you want to share it with folks. Hit the save button, and there you go. It's now ready to go, and we can go to my track. So boom, yes, it keeps adding features. It's like, would you like us to master your track? So there you go. And because I put no album artwork, it just puts my mug there. And all we need to do to share it now is come down the bottom here to this button here, share it. There's the link. I would copy that link and paste that directly into email, into Facebook, into whatever you're sharing it with, and you're good to go. So that's an easy way to share things online. If you've got music and if you've got ideas you want to share with a bunch of people, then you can actually do that. Infarction's helping me out. Go to the home icon, you see a little plus in the top right. That's how you add something to SoundCloud from within the app. Let's just have a look at that so I can know that for next time. So we're in the SoundCloud app. Where were we? In the home screen? Okay. So here's what you have to do. You have to be on the home screen, and then there's this little really obvious button up there. Is that the one? No, that's something different, is it? Yeah, there you go. So yeah, they haven't made it super easy to get to that, because if I was on any other page, that goes away. So it's not there on anything except the home screen. So there you go. If you're on SoundCloud or mobile, go to the home screen, tap the plus button, and that will get you to the upload section. See, this is why I have all of you folks here. That's it. Yeah, SoundCloud needs to try some different visual effects in 2021. Yeah, exactly. That's why I like slaps.com. There you go. Righty, and Joe says, want some input about the mastering of this song? I'll send it to you. Nice. Yes, and do send it to the Create, Record, Release group on Facebook as well, because you'll get a lot more feedback. How are we going on time? 15 minutes. Let's go to our next question. Orchestra Eclipse. Is there a way to lower or higher notes in a track by octave without dragging the notes up and down? Without dragging the notes up and down. So you can use the transpose function. Let's just see if in this track I've got anything I can use. Yeah, I've got a piano. Let's jump over to GarageBand. So I've got this piano, yeah? And what you're saying is, like, to transpose, to move the notes, you can drag them up and down, yeah? So let's just go in and play this piano. Sounds like this. So what if I want these down an octave, for instance? I can tap again, go to my settings, and see the transposition we've got here? Can transpose down an octave. Another octave. Right, we can go up octaves. And we can go parts, so we can go semitones here as well. Up 5 semitones. 6, 7, 8, 9. It's gonna blow. 11. And of course 12 semitones, which is 1 octave. And we'll bring it back. There we go. So yes, there is an easy way to do your transposition here without having to worry about moving them. Now, what you're probably saying is the other method, if you weren't aware of this, is you can edit. And if we wanted to say, move all of these, all this whole section by a couple of semitones, you could also click and drag. I always love that sound. And then tap and drag. Like that. And that's another way to do it. Obviously, that's clunkier because the precision you get is not quite as good, but it does mean that, let's just undo that. Boop, boop, there we go. It does mean that you don't have to drag everything. So if we were in the edit section here, if you wanted to just do individual notes or individual sections, you can grab a section like that and move it independently, as opposed to moving the whole lot. And you can even grab individual notes and move them to a different place. So yeah, there's 2 different ways to transpose here. You can use your transposition via manually editing them, or you can use the settings here to transpose up and down octaves and semitones. Hopefully that helps out you and anyone else who has a similar question. Next question here, we've got a few more to get through. It's from Josh. Josh says, is there a difference between high and low impedance headphones? Is it worth buying 250 ohm and an amp, or just stick with 32 or 80 ohm? What a good question. In fact, I had someone contact me during the week who was unable to get their AKG headphones working with their iPad. And I had a feeling that it was probably because they were high impedance, that they were probably 100 or 200 ohm headphones. Things like the Sennheiser, these ones are 32 ohm. And to be honest, so basically your ohms are the power, so how much output your headphones can get. Problem being that to drive more powerful headphones, you need a more powerful headphone amp. Now, the headphone amp that's in your phone or your tablet is not actually that powerful. So if you ever done this, if you've ever got high impedance headphones, plug them in directly into your headphone jack, and you can barely hear anything, or sometimes you can hear nothing at all, that's generally because the headphones you've got are too powerful for the little tiny amp in your headphone amp inside your phone. So what you would need is a separate DAC, digital to audio converter, or a headphone amp that's actually going to provide enough. There's a really good page from a dude in Adelaide. So he's another Adelaide YouTube content creator called Dank Pods, and originally started creating videos around just where is it? Dank Pods. Around just iPods. So he's a vintage iPod collector, but he's really got into headphones lately. And this most recent video, you have to catch that. These headphones are ones that you get, what he calls the dirty buds. You get your regular Apple wired headphones, and you legitimately, check that out, you put them inside like a headphone case, and you get over-ear headphones that are literally just your Apple dirty buds shoved into some plastic cups. It is hilarious, and he's a very, very funny dude. I won't play any of it, but go away and check that out. But he does a lot of stuff about headphones, as well as about iPads and iPhones and iPods and things. So I would definitely recommend that. I'm just trying to find Dank Pods headphone amp. I'm pretty sure he went into details. Yeah, there you go. So he went and watched this video where he talks about different headphones, and he talks about different sort of amps, because I'm not a headphone enthusiast. Like, I just buy these because I know that they're low impedance. I know that they work with everything. And I'm not a super audiophile, but if you are, then there you go. Easy breezy audiophile Dank Pods. I would check that one out. And again, he's a dude from Adelaide, and he has a snake called Frank. Girl snake called Frank. It's very, very cool. Very fun channel. I'm a Patreon supporter of Dank Pods, and so go check out Wade and his channel. He does amazing work. There you go. I just handballed that question because my headphone knowledge is not huge. Hey, Pete, what do you think about Mac? So I think we answered this one in the chat. So you did the right thing and you put it here in the form as well. What do you think about the MacBook Pro 13 for producing vocals? I think it's good. I think if you pair it up with a good quality audio interface, then you really can't go wrong, because, yeah, you're going to have all the processing power that you need to run GarageBand, Logic, Reaper, whatever you want, and you'll have ultimate flexibility to be able to record and do your thing. Yes, Dank Pods is premium content. Absolutely, Dank Pods. Got some love going for Dank Pods. Yeah, very, very cool. You got to watch it. Just so much fun. And I know it's unrelated, but if you like thrifting, or if you like a little bit of cashies action, for those that are in the UK and Australia who know cash converters, yeah, check out his cashies specials. He did one last year, and he did one just recently where he goes to cash converters and finds some interesting buys on some audio gear and equipment. And yeah, it's very, very fun stuff. All right, a couple more questions here. This one's from West Bloke Gunster 2012 Sharma. Hello. You're the reason why I create GarageBand music. Awesome. I actually like Never to Blame. Nice song. Rock on. Well, rock on yourself, my friend. Yeah, Never to Blame is probably one of my favorite songs to play. I love myself some seventh chords, and that one's got seventh chords out the wazoo. So thank you. Thank you for your support. I do appreciate it, and thanks for being here. Cole Pickle. What a cool name. What should you listen to for when doing a hip-hop EQ? What should you listen to with a hip-hop EQ? Good question. What you should listen to in any EQ is frequencies that don't sound good. Now, I know that sounds like an oversimplification, but it's absolutely the truth. What folks get caught up with EQing is that they think it's some kind of voodoo magic. It's not. All EQ is a volume dial for your frequencies. Say it again, because it's important. All EQ is a volume dial for your frequencies. So let's grab this acoustic guitar here and give you an example. So if we play it, there you go. So that's an acoustic guitar sound, right? We can turn the volume up and down. Well, we can't on this one because we've automated it, which is one of the hassles of GarageBand. Once you automate, you can't change the volume. But let's come in here to our plugins and EQ and go to our visual EQ. What you'll notice here is that I've turned down the bass frequencies and I've turned down the treble frequencies just a little bit because this guitar was sounding too bright in the mix. Let's bring it into the mix.
What others do, think it's easy.
Hear how it's sounding pretty bright? Well, guess what? Without that EQ, it sounds like this. Really harsh, yeah? So the reason for the EQ on this one was that we turned it down there in the bass and we turned the treble down a little bit just to remove a little bit of that harshness in the bottom and the top end. And if I wanted to, what I could do is find a frequency that I didn't like in the mid-range and turn that down. Now, I know you're thinking, Pete, that's an acoustic guitar, and I asked you about hip-hop. Thanks for that. Yeah, it's the same with everything. It is about finding the frequencies that don't work and then removing them, what we call subtractive EQ. Additive EQ means you find a frequency you want to enhance and you turn it up. The problem with that is this is volume. You're adding volume to your mix. Every time you turn something up, you're adding volume to the mix. The reason I showed you that is the biggest thing I see hip-hop producers and electronic producers in general do is they start creating their song and they're like, I want more bass. So what do? They go to their EQ and they turn up the bass. What you should be thinking about is, what do I need to remove to make the bass stand out? So for instance, if we come into this tune, this is my closest to hip-hop tune that I've done called Imagination. Let's take a listen to this one here in the section, about there. What on earth was that? I apologize. I've obviously been playing around with this and I've done something. Let's just turn it down. I wonder what that actually was. I'm going to turn the volume all the way down. It's on this drummer track. All right, I've become distracted by just blowing your ears off. I think YouTube have just kicked me off the platform. They're like, you are trying to hurt people with that sound. I'm trying to hurt my own ears, that's for sure. Whew. Good thing I don't have, like a live show to do today. The joys of audio, hey. So my point there being that A, don't add whatever I added to this. I'm intrigued now. What do I actually have on here? Oh my God, I've got all sorts of things. I've got, for whatever reason, I was putting like a Nembrini overdrive pedal on my drums. Whatever I was doing here, I don't know what it was. I'm just going to, I'm going to close that before I do any more damage. You're going away. You're going to get deleted. So I never open you again. All right. My point there was, yeah, try to find the frequencies that you don't like and turn those down, as opposed to turning up the frequencies that you want to enhance, and it's going to help you out. Yeah, badass drum track. I know. I broke it. The cats are paying attention, and Tom liked it. He's like, yeah, right, industrial, brrr, for the win. Yes, the Nembrini. Don't put your Nembrini guitar pedals on your drums, folks. It's not going to end well. Hopefully that helped you out, Cole, and then broke your ears. All right, let's move on to our final question here, and it is from Simeon or Simon, Simeon. Says, thoughts on Ableton 11. Ableton is something that I've never used. I'm going to be super honest with you here. This is going to be like my Jerry Springer final thoughts. Ableton. I've never used it. I've seen people use it. I've seen how it works. The workflow seems weird. Not necessarily weird in a bad way, but different. And I don't think it would work for me. But you know what? I should actually try. Like FL Studio, like a lot of these other platforms, like Beatmaker, like Nano Studio, I should try these things, yeah? Because until I try them, I'm not actually going to know, yeah? And I should actually give it a shot. So I don't know Ableton. Someone who does use Ableton is someone I interviewed on the channel recently, and that is Xylo Aria. So she has a community music production for women, which is very cool. And if you want to find out more about Xylo and the work that she does, bear with me a moment. I still occasionally get confused with the Mac just trying to bring Windows up and click the wrong button. But if you want to find out about Xylo and follow her and about how to produce in Ableton, because she is an electronic producer who produces in Ableton, then jump over there. Just search my name and then Zylo Aria, Zylloaria. And you can check out my interview that I did with Zylo and learn a bit about Ableton. But for me, I don't know. It just has never seemed like something that I wanted to explore. So I haven't yet. But maybe it's something for the future. If there's enough demand, I've got a lot of people wanting me to get back into Cubasis at the moment and do some more Cubasis 3 tutorials. So that may be the next thing that I explore. I got a bunch of people that want me to use Logic on Mac as well. So that may be something I need to explore as well. But we will find out. And as Tom says, Ableton seems interesting, but the cost, and Ableton is great, but a steep learning curve. And 11 has great features like comping takes. And Brooke says FL Studio is so overcomplicated. And look, I love simplicity. That's why I use GarageBand. People are like, oh, when are you gonna upgrade to a real DAW? I'm like, no, I just want simple. I don't think you understand. I'm recording 24-bit, 44.1 kilohertz quality sound in whatever I use. So it actually doesn't matter if I use GarageBand or Pro Tools or Reaper or whatever. It's all the same. All right, we are going to go because it is the time to go. If you're watching here live or even if you're watching on the replay, catch Jade Starr's show up next. She's doing her how-to app on iOS for the Wart community song, Pull You Through. So she's going to record some vocals and the track there that Lady Rodeline and I'm going to forget the dude's name. I'm very, very sorry. You have to go over and find out. The name is on the tip of my brain, but I think I broke my brain with those loud noises just now. Anyway, we are going to move on from here. So thank you all for being here on Home Studio Q&A, and until next time, remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and keep creating. Rock on!